Hello DCAC members, this is Jake and I'm here to walk you through our 712 World Language Program Design Report. This is our agenda for our time. Our membership of our World Language Curriculum Committee team, looking at where we are in our curriculum review cycle, a summary of our program evaluation phase, looking through our program design elements, which there are 6, and then receiving some feedback from you all when we get together at our next session. So looking at our program design phase, folks that were involved in that phase, this was our World Language Curriculum Review Committee. We had a number of our teachers from our World Language program, as well as administrators supporting. This is a look at our phases of our curriculum and program design, our program review system. Currently, or this was actually last year in 22-23, we had our world language team was in program design, and they're reporting out today in their findings and their information from program design. They had been previously in program evaluation, and this year they will be starting into their implementation plan and purchase phase. We'll go through a summary of our information that we learned in program evaluation. This curriculum review team actually started in 2019, and it was significantly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and wasn't actually able to finish their program evaluation summary until the fall of 2022. Some findings from our program evaluation: we had many programmatic changes from 2010, which was the last time that we went through our curriculum and program review system. We have removed the Arabic language, which was an offering for some years. We just couldn't have stability in our enrollment or instructors. In our college and the schools, Spanish course was also removed, and then a course that was Spanish for Spanish speakers was also removed with the DLI program starting. We have continued to expand our dual language immersion, and curriculum at all schools has shifted as we have shifted some staff as well. We have had decreases that we find after level 2 of our both Spanish and French courses. Especially we see those for BIPOC students that are underrepresented in some of those higher level language courses, especially after the level 2. We find that our grading policy during the pandemic actually improved our student grades, and especially among BIPOC students. And exploring our best practices in world language, we have found that comprehensible input with the teaching and methods that go along with that, we need to implement that into and more into our program from levels 1 through 5. In our family and student survey that we provided, we did have a low participation rate, but we found that the students that completed it were enjoying their classes and would recommend them to their friends. The lowest, I guess the areas of skill that students felt the lowest confidence in were their listening and speaking skills. And looking at some of our comparable and competitive districts nearby, we found that they typically offer full year programs and 3 to 5 languages. And we're going to start off and talk about our phase 2, which is program design. So the first element in program design is to develop a purpose statement and program goals. So our world language purpose statement is as this: our Roseville area school students are an integral part of our local and global communities. Our world language K-12 program empowers all world language students to be curious, empathetic, and well-informed global citizens. We celebrate and support the linguistic and cultural capital of all of our learners. Our students explore and communicate their own identities and cultures while discovering how to respectfully collaborate with others in their community and around the world. Through a challenging, authentic, and communicative curriculum, our students are equipped to utilize their linguistic skills and diverse cultural understandings to create a more inclusive and equitable world. This is our program goals that go along with our statement, and we have developed 7 different program goals that are based on the World Language Standards or ACTFL standards. The goals are based on all the areas of the ACTFL standards, which include the interpersonal, presentational, interpretive, and world readiness. You may want to pause and just read through some of these program goals. The next element is to create the new program design. So in our current world language program at Roseville Area Middle School, our 7th grade students can take 1 trimester of world cultures. Our 8th grade students can take a year-long Spanish 1 or French 1 course, and they can earn 2 credits at high school if they receive a passing grade. In dual language Spanish immersion program is offered at RAMS that continues beyond the elementary school. Those Spanish immersion classes that are offered are in social studies. So they have a social studies, a Spanish social studies class, a science social or Spanish class, and a Spanish language arts class. At Parkview Center in the middle school, we have our 7th graders that take a semester of world cultures. And we have 8th grade students that can take a year-long Spanish 1 course, again for 2 credits of high school credit. And our dual language Spanish immersion program and French are not offered because of the size of Parkview Middle School. At Roseville Area High School, we have Spanish levels 1 through 4 and an additional AP Spanish. And those are all offered as 2 trimester-long courses. Our French levels are 1 through 5 and are offered also as 2 trimester-long courses. And French 4 and 5 is combined into 1 class because of numbers. Our dual language Spanish immersion classes are also offered to students who've completed the K-8 immersion program and or are native speakers, Spanish speakers, and it's currently in grades 9 through 11. Some of our considerations that we thought about for our program design were, and that these are things that we talked about and discussed. They not necessarily are things that we are for sure able to do, but just things that we connected with and wanted to talk about in our program design phase. So looking at the beginning world studies in world language studies in 7th grade, whether that include French and Spanish. Looking at outside opportunities that we could involve our students in, such as field trips or partnerships. And we really feel like the heart of our work is in developing students of having a love of language learning. We want to continue to diversify our world language staff and stabilize our dual language Spanish immersion program before we add in additional languages beyond our French and Spanish program. We know that ROS has scheduling difficulties because 2 trimesters make up a full year of learning. And in other programs, we find that those are full year-long programs. So we have looked around, can we do the possibility of year-long classes? We've discussed, could we do an A day and B day and like switch off with another course? Or could we offer some of the sections that are B sections during Try 1 and A sections during Try 2 or Try 3 to offer a full year and kind of accelerate students in their Spanish or French language learning. We've also talked a lot about curriculum and instruction and really focusing in on how can we improve our horizontal and vertical alignment and providing our 7th through 12th grade teachers more time to do that. As I talked about before, providing that comprehensible input at all of our levels and having a common curriculum for Spanish across all 3 schools that teach Spanish 1 and French 1. having the appropriate curriculum and pacing for our ROS Trimester 2 schedule and looking at what that could be. So our main recommendations coming out of those discussions for our program design are really looking at that ROS schedule possibilities. So really thinking about offering the B sections during Tri 1 and A sections during Tri 2, and specifically focused on Spanish 2A and Spanish 2B, or Spanish 2A during the third trimester and Spanish 2B during the first try. We again want to really stabilize our dual language Spanish immersion program before adding in additional language or languages. And our main focus has been on curriculum instruction. How do we make sure that we are aligned horizontally and vertically, and providing our teachers, our 712 teachers, more time to do this? We want to implement comprehensible input, best practice for language learning at all of our levels, and provide more professional development for our teachers to do this. We also need to have a common curriculum for Spanish 1 across all of our 3 schools, which talks about also that horizontal alignment, and also have aligned common assessments that are used district-wide. Also, having that appropriate curriculum that will fit in with the pacing of 2 trimester schedule at ROS. Our third element is to identify the outcomes measure the curriculum, instruction, and program effectiveness. So the things that we are looking at to identify our program effectiveness in all of these areas is really looking, as we talked about, tracking that student enrollment beyond level 2. One of the goals that we have is to continue to have that love of language learning and bring in comprehensible input best practices so that students will continue beyond level 2 of whatever that is, Spanish or French. Oftentimes students have the misnomer that they can take 2 years of world language and then they're done, and they can be set for college or whatever it is beyond their high school years. And what we want to provide is a different perspective that language learning continues and should continue beyond that second year of Spanish or French. We'll continue to measure the demographics of students that are enrolled in our world language program to look for any disparities between our students based on race. And then also looking at disaggregated data based on race and ethnicity to eliminate racial disparity and increase alignment between our buildings and our course levels. Looking at element 4, which is our program design, and our areas of program design that we are focusing on are articulation of courses. We want to maintain our current course offerings, Spanish 1 through 4 and AP, and French 1 through 5. For cross-discipline needs, we've talked about the need for language learning and application outside of the classroom, talking about those offerings that would go to field trips or beyond. And then also defining what are the boundaries between world language and dual language Spanish immersion or DLSI, as we have staff that are in both programs and there's some overlap there. Looking at our power standards, we have identified our proficiency benchmarks from levels 1 through 5, and our power standards are still under development and will be completed in the next phase, phase 3. Continuing with our program design areas, we are going to continue to monitor our progress through our grades. We are orienting our grades towards proficiency and applying that knowledge in context and not just performance of measuring or memorizing content and regurgitating that. We also want to address concerns that were brought about through our study of our equity analysis framework. So we're making sure that we have curriculum that is representative of our student population and that depicts the target cultures that we teach in an authentic manner. We are working through our ACTFL standards to meet all of those standards, as well as making sure that we have that diverse and representative curricula. And looking at our needs for all of our students, we're looking for instructional materials that provide differentiation and will be age appropriate and culturally relevant. Looking at element 5, we're going to develop the criteria for our material evaluation, and we completed that phase, or that element. And we looked at the Delaware Department of Education's high quality instructional materials review rubrics for world languages. And we use that to adapt and adopt for our languages. And this just gives you a little snippet of that, that criteria. And the link here will bring you to the full criteria. And that is also located in our report. Element 6 is to develop the criteria and plan for continuing evaluation of instruction and curriculum effectiveness. And we will know if our curriculum is effective if students are routinely meeting the ACTFL proficiency criteria associated with each course level. There is increased enrollment in courses beyond level 2. The demographics of our students enrolled in our world language program are representative of our full student population. And our grade data doesn't show racial disparities. And also, our courses are aligned between RAMS, Parkview, and RAS. Thank you for listening and following along. We will have time for questions and discussion at our upcoming DCAC meeting on October 16th. And also read through our report so you have a full knowledge of all the different things that we discussed in our program design phase. Thanks again.